When I reported that Lionsgate were producing a movie adaptation of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne, I said I would not be surprised if they try and make this into another franchise. Franchises are the name of the game right now in Hollywood. Disney basically rely on franchises. Universal have Harry Potter, obviously, the Fantastic Beasts, they have Jurassic World, like everyone has these big franchises apart from Lionsgate. So I would not be surprised if after the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is fully out as a book, which is this week, if it's successful, Suzanne Collins releases some sequels to the book and Lionsgate then make some sequels to the upcoming movie. So in this video, I'm going to go through some of my ideas of what possibly a sequel and another sequel, aka a trilogy, could look like in this franchise. And obviously I'm not a writer, these are just like kind of my loose ideas that I feel like are realistic and aren't like too fanficky, but obviously this is just me like completely guessing on what Suzanne Collins could possibly do with this series. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please subscribe. I was going to say thank you for 800 subscribers, we're actually almost at 900, which is amazing. But yeah, thank you so much, and let's get started with my ideas for a sequel. This video is obviously going to contain spoilers for The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, so if you have not read that and you want to, and you don't want to be spoiled, please don't watch this video, but if you have read it, then this is my idea. So I am envisioning a trilogy following Snow becoming president with the games as a backdrop. These would be political thrillers, which when I first started thinking about it, I was like, okay, it's a prequel trilogy, it's political. I was like, this does sound kind of like Star Wars, but honestly, I promise this would be more exciting than the Star Wars prequels. Although recently a lot of people have been telling me that they like them, but never mind. So I think that we would start with a time jump to Snow in his 4th year of university. We find out at the end of Songbirds and Snakes that he's going to be tutoring under Dr. Gall, or Gale, I think it's Gall, and she is going to be basically mentoring him and making him into the man he is going to be by the time we get to the original trilogy. So I'm thinking of time jump to his 4th and final year of university, and we see that she has a lot of control over him, and she's using him as a means to get even more power for herself. So she would be pressuring him to run for president, and he would be egotistical enough that he would want to do it anyway. And also, we always saw throughout the book that his grandmother was like always saying, oh, one day you'll be president. So I think that Dr. Gall would be really pressuring him and being like, you're the best candidate, blah, blah, blah. But obviously she just wants to be behind the scenes, pulling the strings and being the puppet master of Snow. Gall would be very, very much the antagonist, even though Snow himself is an antagonist, obviously. She is the antagonist of the antagonist story. So does that make her the protagonist? I don't know. I obviously would not be surprised, or I expect that he would then be one step ahead of her. He is a smart character. He always, in the book, we see that he knows how to work any situation to be in his favour. So he would be 2 steps ahead of her, and he would know that she wants to be pulling the strings and basically controlling him when he becomes president. So he is going along with her plan and basically just being like, yep, 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 yep. And then once he becomes president, she's going to be the first to go. Before that happens, I think this would be happening at the same time as the games. So by this point it would be the 14th games. And I don't really have many ideas of what could actually be going on. But I know that obviously people don't want to be completely separated from the games. They don't want like just a story about Snow and politics. That's not what people in the Hunger Games franchise want. So it would have to be kind of like 2 stories running parallel, like the Snow becoming president or campaigning for president, however you want to spin it, and then the games themselves. I think an interesting way that we could link in is that this could be the first year that mentors are victors from previous games. So we know that Mags was the victor of the 11th games, so having the 14th games be maybe the first year that victors come back could be a good way to kind of spend more time with Mags, who I know is a fan favourite in the series. Obviously, the MVP of Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was Tigris, his cousin, and I think that we would see throughout this second book her starting to realise the man that he has become and really start to disagree with him on a lot of things and become horrified with the things that he's doing to become president. And he is promising her, you know, like, we're family, like, I'll always be there for you when I'm president. You'll be the star of like the stylists, like you will be famous in the capital on your own right. And I think this could be a really good way to give Tigris a really good arc, with her kind of accepting who Snow is, and then in the first book, obviously, like, that's what I mean, and then the second book, starting to like kind of unravel like who actually is this man as my cousin, and then in the third book, we could see kind of the decline of their relationship. So the second book I'm envisioning would end with him becoming president and probably end with him killing or assassinating whatever Dr. Gall. And then the third book, I am not too sure about, honestly. So I think that we would need another time jump, and perhaps this would be parallel to maybe like the 25th games, because I do know that a lot of people want to see the eventual falling out of Tigris and Snow and what leads to her being happy that Katniss is going to kill him. So we know that Tigris was still a stylist when Katniss was viewing the games when she was younger, so that is a long, long time in the future, and I don't think this trilogy could work with such a big time jump, because then it's just three completely different unconnected stories. Like, I think from the end of the first one to the start of the second one, like 3-4 years isn't that much, but to then jump like, I don't know, 60 years, that doesn't really work. So I think that we could see that, you know, Tigris and Snow are not on good terms at this point, but maybe because she is a stylist, like, they still get on the surface. I don't know how this would really work. It's just like a loose idea, because I know that their falling out is a very, very important part of the story to a lot of people. Like, a lot of people want to see that, but I just don't know how we could make it work without doing like a huge time jump. Having Snow as the president in the third book would give us a really interesting insight into Panem as a global entity, and could show us what the rest of the world is really like in the world of the Hunger Games, and how other countries are surviving, or if they are like responding to the Hunger Games. You know, like, we really don't see any of this because it is mostly from Katniss's perspective. And then obviously the first book, Snow is still a student, so it's not like something he would know, but having him in power would give us a really interesting way to look at the state of the rest of the world, because he would be president. So obviously if there is other countries, he would, I assume, be in contact with them. I don't know. And I just think it's going to be a really interesting way for Suzanne Collins to give us a lot more backstory and kind of explain the world, because that's one of the big questions that we always like think about, is what is the rest of the world thinking about the Hunger Games, and does the rest of the world even still exist? So I think it's going to be a really interesting way to spin that into the plot. I also think in this book that the capital would be kind of back on its feet. People would be starting to get more wealthy, and the streets are clear, you know, things are starting to look more like the books that we, or the capital that we know from the original books. So I think this could be a really interesting way for Suzanne Collins to explore wealth inequality, because again, from the president's perspective, looking at the districts and capital and kind of how he justifies it to himself, and how he justifies keeping these people so poor and these people so rich, it could be a really interesting way for her to bring in some more social commentary and like ethical issues and moral debates and all that stuff that Suzanne Collins really loves to put into the Hunger Games books. One plot idea, because I was thinking, what could the plot of this third book really actually be? And I'm not too sure, but one thing I thought could be kind of fun is if there is like a secret underground rebellion going on that Snow is trying to stomp out and kind of crush before anyone else finds out about it. And, you know, viewing a rebellion from the side of the government and from the side of the bad guys is quite unique. I don't know if, I personally, I know I've never seen that, so I don't know if it's really out there, but I thought this could be like a really unique point of view into rebellions. And obviously we would know that they wouldn't be successful because of the events of the original trilogy, but it could just like give us a really interesting and unique plot and story that I know that I haven't seen before. And that is all that I really have. I have a strong kind of idea of what she could do for a second book, but obviously a third book it's much harder because we don't really know what she would want to do for a second book, so it's kind of hard to kind of guess. But hopefully you enjoyed this theory, hopefully you enjoyed these videos. I'm going to be making a video next week about my predictions from my, you know, bingo prediction video where I write, so please watch out for that. Obviously it'll be all spoilers, but I'm doing it next week, so hopefully by the time it's out more people have finished the book and we can have a good discussion about it. So thanks so much for watching, please like, please subscribe, and I will see you next time.